is going to be Black taking on the Gamehoppers. Zotere, what are the chances you're around?
I am around. I'm always here. Sometimes I just mute myself so no one can hear me, but I am
Yay!
always here waiting and excited for the games. We see some very quick bans. These teams are serious business. Sona, Rumble, Nocturne coming down from Team Black.
And not only are they very, very quick bans, they're somewhat unorthodox bans as well. Sona, of course, is sort of the support flavor of the month right now. Everybody wants to play Sona. She's so, so strong and such a great bully in that bottom lane as well. So no real surprise in seeing the ban, but it's not one that you see very often. And of course, following it up, Lee Sin, Nocturne, such strong junglers. I know that we've seen some very, very good jungle play coming out of the Gamehoppers recently, but they are playing with a substitute. A member of Team Megashock is busy playing for the GH lineup right now, and I wonder if that's going to make a difference.
Certainly could. One thing is Broto actually has a overall losing ratio on Nocturne, 45% win ratio in solo queue. Of course, solo queue doesn't really mean as much as, competitive play, competitive scrims, but it's interesting to ban out a champion who, perhaps, the opposition isn't very, incredibly stellar with. We also see a Shyvana ban and a Zilean ban, so I don't know what exactly is going on here.
Yeah, I wonder if this is not just completely targeted, or if the players know one another, or something along those lines. Team Black, of course, they will be playing the Red Trunks over on the right-hand side. Mr. Fat Mama, Decoy, Alvic, Face Roller, and Naprian did so well earlier in the week. They defeated Curse 2-0 in quite stellar fashion, in fact, to qualify for MLG Arena. And I'm very interested to see how they're going to play today, and how they're going to do against the Gamehoppers, who, of course, have been around a little bit longer, I think, in terms of the top-level scene. But we see Ari has already been locked in, not banned out. And I wonder if Darius is going to get locked in as well.
I actually have that little bug that people don't even believe in me exists, where I can't actually see that it looks like it's locked into me already. So I've actually made some quote-unquote casting errors, assuming that it was locked in, and it is changed the last moment to Nunu. So, of course, was not locked in. However, on my screen, appeared like it was. So it looks like we're going to see perhaps a quirky Soraka bottom lane, always very, very dominant down there. Still very confused by the Zilean ban. I don't know that Hawkdog's been playing it. I think I think M5 played a little bit of Zilean in recent competitive games. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Alex Stitch pulled that out somewhere. I can't remember whether we were casting together or I would just happen to be watching that game in another tournament, but certainly was really, really popular about a year and a half ago in the North American scene, and it didn't ever seem to catch on over here, and then, just kind of disappeared entirely. But he still brings a lot of utility, a lot of early game presence, can beat most AP mages in lane just because that double bomb does so much damage. In the late game, it does fall off insofar as damage, but still has such great utility, speeding people up, slowing them down, and resurrecting them about every 10 or 15 seconds, it seems like, after he uses rewind a billion times. So we are actually seeing the quirky Soraka will be the bottom lane if it's not a Soraka middle, and we're seeing an Udyr pickup as well, almost certainly going in the jungle, but Udyr can go top lane, just as easily. Oh, I would like seeing this. I would like a Caitlyn Nunu combination. That just gives you so much damage early on in the lane, can give you such great lane control, and that's what it looks like it will be. And the great thing about Caitlyn, yeah, she doesn't scale incredibly well into late game, but she dominates lanes, and in particular, she dominates lanes against, people like Corki and Graves. If they can't get a full engage on you, and they probably don't really want a full engage with someone like Soraka on their side, then you eventually outpoke them in that lane.
Yeah, and the other thing that's very interesting, the fact that it's Nunu as the support. We've seen coming out of CLG NA, they played that very, very aggressive Nunu Kate middle lane, trying to push down very aggressively, trying to get that early push strat advantage. So I wonder if we're going to see something similar coming out of Team Black, knowing that they're heading over to the States, knowing that they're heading over to a big land in a couple of weeks' time, trying something out. Skarner is locked in, who's most likely going to be their jungler. And I love the champion. I'm a big, big fan of the playstyle, but I just think that he's not necessarily absolute top tier in terms of what he can provide. If we do look at the opposing champions, though, there's no one that can really get rid of him. You've got the silence from Soraka that could cause a little bit of trouble, bear stun stance, but there's no Janna, there's no Monsoon, there's no Sona to lock up with a Crescendo or something like that. So the potential is very, very good for Skarner to get a decent impale against this composition.
Yeah, I love Skarner. I think he's a great champion. I think he's, borderline overpowered in the solo queue, realm where, it's kind of easier to catch people out. But when it comes down to competitive play, organized play, everyone is just that much more careful. They know the range of Flash and Pale. They stay out of that range if they're, a prime target for it with like the AD carry, the AP carry, even the support. So he just does kind of fall off. And I remember there was like a big surge of him, being played in competitive tournaments, big, offline LAN tournaments, but then he just never won in any of those games. And I think that's why. Just because he doesn't have, very many tools in his kit to get close to people once they realize, okay, this is his strategy. He's going to get close enough to Flash and Pale. So another interesting thing about this game, no Shen ban, no Shen pick, no Karthus ban, no Karthus pick, no Alistar ban, no Alistar pickup. So a lot of champions that we see, time and time again, also Nautilus and Maokai, Morgana, so many champions just being completely ignored, and no Graves. I guess that could be a little bit interesting as well. But we are ticking down. The lineups have been made. It will be a Jax versus Aurelia in that top lane.
And Hawked on RV is a champion that I've seen as a player. A player that I have seen playing Orianna as a champion many times before, and he's very, very aggressive with Orianna. Uses that clockwork wind-up, that passive of hers to get in range, deal as much damage with those auto attacks as possible, and really, really does well with those skill shots and with that placement of that ball. So Orianna versus Ari in the mid, it's a lot of movement, on Ari's side versus a lot of sort of lane control with that ball being used. And I wonder if this Nunu and Caitlyn are going to go middle. I wonder if they're actually going to try something like that. Decoy, pretty much standard runes and masteries, opting to go Flash Cleanse. And with that little quality of life change to her 90 caliber net, makes it a lot more usable as an escape mechanism.
The only concern I have is, are they going to put Ari in a 1v2, matchup? That doesn't seem like a wise idea. She's not going to be able to pick up very much farm, and is not very stellar at picking it up underneath the turret either. So I certainly would be interested in seeing the duo mid combination. I just don't see how it really turns out for Black at this point in time.
Yeah, that is also true. All right, guys, so we have 1.5 minutes before we jump into this game. I just want to remind everybody what you are actually watching, so thank you for joining us. This is, of course, the Fnatic Play Raidcall Cup number 3. If you guys head over to Fnatic.com, you can keep track of the coverage, keep track of the games. There's been a little bit of a swap around in terms of the teams that can play and can't play. So right now, we are busy watching the Gamehoppers taking on Team Black. Millennium will face off against Eclipsia later this evening. And of course, you can see the full bracket. These are best of ones right now. And tomorrow evening for the semifinals and the grand finals, we will be jumping into the best of 3s. And of course, your sponsor for today is Raidcall. It's an awesome, awesome chat program. If you guys head over to raidcall.com, you can actually see the application. It's completely free to use. You can create your own channels, you can create your own groups and things like that. So it's really, really awesome. You can see that myself and Sotere are actually using it for this entire cast. If we can find some time, we are going to be taking some questions a little bit later on. So if you head over to room Leet 14, that's 113714, and you look down towards the Raidcall Play Cup, you can actually see the caster channel and the caster chat, where we'll be jumping into that and taking some questions and seeing what you think. One of the things I really like about it, it's actually got a little built-in theme changer. No, I'm not a fan of cats. I don't like guys eating their watermelons. So let's go for the dark one. There we go. The dark theme, like my soul. So we've got that one running right now. 15 seconds left on the timer. Sotere, rosters and lineups. We got two very good collections of champions. A lot of single target focus from the teams. Do you see a clear winner just in the compositions?
I don't see a clear winner. I do like Team Black's setup. I like that they have, that Caitlyn there that's going to give them that early power, but then they, ensure that they have two people that can really carry late game as well with Ahri and Jax. Like, that seems like a good composition just because no one's really going to fall off late game and damage besides Caitlyn. Everyone else should keep up there. And the great thing about Nunu combining with Caitlyn is you could say, oh, Caitlyn doesn't have a steroid, but when you combine it with Blood Boil, suddenly she gets that 65% extra attack speed. She actually comes up to the level of a lot of the other AD carries. Now, granted, they could be combined with Nunu as well, but they're not in this instance. So, whereas, if you had a Soraka, you might be able to give Caitlyn more protection, but you don't give her that extra offensive output. So I do like the lineup from that stance. I have heard, a couple of complaints about, or not complaints, but chat mentioning, oh, I haven't seen Udyr in the jungle in a while. He kind of falls off late game. That could be so. I've seen actually a resurgence of Udyr in North American tournaments coming back to the top lane. And when he gets that top lane farm and rushes that Trinity Force and then kind of goes tanky thereafter, he does so much damage late game. Tiger Stance scales very, very well into the late game, whereas, the regular Phoenix Stance Udyr might not do the same single target burst damage. Tiger Stance certainly does, especially if you build him more offensive oriented. So we'll see, what the actual build is coming from Broto here, how he's actually going to run through the jungle. There are people who do, a Phoenix and Tiger stance combined in that jungle. We'll see if he has that early aggression. Of course, he has incredible move speed early on in the game, especially if he goes up defensive and utility masteries to pick up all those move speed bonuses, which tends to be, a very popular strategy. I'm actually looking at his move speed. It is 405. He's going to be moving pretty darn fast. In comparison, Caitlyn, who also has boots, only at 352 movement speed, so another 53 tagged on there for Udyr, who will also have a speed bonus from Bear Stance.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The Bear Stance stuns are going to be very strong. And in terms of the pre-level 6 ganks, Udyr plus Irelia, high kill potential. Udyr plus Orianna, high kill potential. And Udyr plus Corki, again, high kill potential. They've all got burst. They've all got some form of CC, with the exception of Corki, of course. But the silence from Infuse can be very good. Skarner is really going to rely on a good counter-strike, being able to stun somebody followed up with those Crystal Slash slows, or a good charm from Face Roller, holding them in place for a little bit more DPS until he gets that Impale. Sort of a closer range Nocturne, if you will, in terms of his ganking power.
Right. I mean, that permaslow can be really useful, in particular in the top lane if anyone overextends, but in the middle lane, people tend to be able to get away just by virtue of being relatively close to their turret. But once they get to 6, their ganking power, isn't really close. I feel Skarner runs away, has so much more potential at level 6 because of that Impale, and the cooldown on it is relatively low. At base it actually looks about 2 minutes, but of course his passive, lowers cooldowns based on his actual auto attacks. So as he's clearing through the jungle, his ultimate is getting shorter and shorter cooldown. He's actually not getting, looks like, any help at the race. It looks like Jax will actually steal double golems with assistance from Ahri, so that is a really nice pickup. And Skarner is doing a kind of an unusual route, going to race and then towards the blue buff. So we see Malachi do that a lot because he can, stack those saplings and really get over there, really, really quick. In this case, getting a lot of extra help from the bottom lane means that he's not even going to have to smite that. So he's having a very, fast but unusual clear time, and Jax got a little bit of advantage up top, already hits level 2.
Yeah, and of course Jax being able to have both the leap strike and his counter strike available, or in this case, in this case, Empower and counter strike, he's going to be able to put some decent damage down. If we see Skarner going for an early gank, and Alvic is able to hit level 3 potentially, that could be quite worrying for Almupo. You know, Leaf Strike into Counter Strike, into that perma-slow of the red buff and those crystal slashes, it could be very, very strong. And this is something that I like seeing out of teams these days is starting to play with the jungle a little bit more. You know, we've seen AD carries picking up the Wolf Camp, we've seen top laners picking up the double golems, and right now Fat Mama just laughing all day long in that bottom lane.
Oh man, that could get annoying to the enemy AD carries. Like, I just want a last hit. Another thing we do see is even if there would be a gank up top attempt up top, there are wards placed down from both teams. Actually, you know, both wards placed in the same, you know, general vicinity there. So, you know, kind of protecting that top lane. So Skarner, you know, is in that top vicinity, but is actually just going to head on back, continue clearing out his jungle. Bottom lane has been relatively passive. We haven't seen, you know, a lot of aggression from Caitlyn coming down as of yet.
Yeah, of course, take a look at the damage. 76 auto attack damage to Mr. Roll 77.
Gank in the middle too.
Flash into best stance. Face Roll is actually going to miss the flash, so that means he face plants into the wall. Naprin is going to try chase down Broto. Is probably going to be able to pick that one up. Now has double buff, both red and blue ticking over. Going to carry on chasing. Hawkdon may go down as well, but Naprin was actually forced to use that flash to get into the river. Face Roller about half a centimeter from successfully escaping with that flash, and unfortunately gives up first blood.
Does give up first blood. It doesn't end up terribly. At least Orianna didn't pick up double buffs. You know, a refresh of buffs on Skarner, that'll certainly help him out. So not an ideal situation, but, you know, it could have been a lot worse. They could have given up first blood and not had a, you know, a kill in recompense, whereas they did actually pick up a kill and an assist for Ahri. And actually, Ahri gets the kill in middle, so matching at least the kill from Orianna, not necessarily getting the extra 400 or the extra 100 gold that he would otherwise. We do see Udyr coming in bottom, and there's actually not any ward placement, but he steps right into a trap, unfortunately. So Caitlyn providing her own defense down bottom.
And that's something you forget about. You know, Caitlyn used to be a very high-tier AD carry, and you get into that mindset, there's always going to be 3 traps, there's always going to be a trap in one of the bushes. But Caitlyn fell out of favor, hasn't been around for quite a while. And yeah, all of a sudden Udyr walks onto the trap while that action's on the bottom lane. Broto and Hawkton are going to try set up a gank onto Face Roller. Bear stun stance is going to go down. No Spur Rush means Face Roller is just going to give up yet another kill. In this bottom lane, Decoy and Fat Mama trading a lot of damage, but there's no heal and no sustain for the Caitlyn Nunu. So they've got to be very careful there. They're being very brave with this low hit points and no potions being available. If Decoy gets jumped on, he could go down very quickly. Ignite and Phosphorus Bomb is available.
They are both up. I mean, that is a very scary situation coming down for Team Black here. Looks like he's going to continue poking away, but yeah, Corki is going to be he's going to be full life soon and can potentially dive in here. The one thing is that cleanse is still up from Caitlyn, so they might not do, you know, quite as much damage as they would think, but they're going to have to be forced back because right now, you know, they're essentially in, you know, auto attack and phosphorus range damage, you know, to insta kill them. And as I say that, they actually do head back, so they're essentially daring them to dive in here.
I really like this pressure in the middle lane as well from Udyr. Broto and Hawkton getting a really strong advantage. 1 kill, 1 assist on Orianna. 39 CS to the 22 of Face Roller X. So really, really scary. And of course, a fed Orianna, the damage from that shockwave is just immense.
It really is. And, you know, they really have to, you know, pick on Ahri before she hits level 6, because after that she's going to be incredibly hard to gank, really incredibly hard to really stick on top of. Does land a nice charm on Hawkton. Hawkton's not too worried about it, though. Just tanks the damage and comes back into lane. And we do see an early Oracle pickup as well from Udyr. So Udyr, Philosopher's Stone, it looks like he's rushing Merc Treads and an Oracle.
Yeah, that's very, very aggressive. 7 minutes on, he's gonna have to spend some time clearing out wards around the dragon buff. If you pick, or the dragon camp rather, if you pick up that early oracles, you need to get dragon control with it to really make it sort of, you know, worthwhile and get the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the huge advantages, and I actually remember complaining, Fnatic, Cyanide kept on picking up oracles, but then they didn't actually aggressively go after the dragon, but you have that huge advantage. You spent 400 gold on that oracles, make sure it pays off for your team. Getting that extra 190 gold on each person is certainly a good thing to work towards. We do see both middles do get their blue buff, Ari still not in a stellar position, and Skarner keeps on walking by this ward, unfortunately, so he keeps on getting caught out there, or spotted there. So certainly, his ganks are not going to be super effective, and now we see him maybe being caught up by Udyr. Nope, there's going to be more sight of each other, and that ward does go down in middle. So now Hawkton, has to be a little bit nervous about Skarner being there at all points of time.
An interesting build actually coming out of Skarner. You do tend to see, or at least, when Skarner was played a bit more often, points into that fracture ability, which is of course going to give him the sustained additional health in the jungle. This time around, 3 points into Crystal Slash, 2 points into that exoskeleton, and not a single point into his fracture. Top lane, Alvic is going to go very aggressive on Almupa. Almupa's going to turn it around immediately with the Transcendent Blades. Alvic does toss out the Ignite, but he's got no mana to follow it up with any more Empowers or Leap Strikes.
You can use...
Sorry about that.
And
what
of course
was
you can use Exoskeleton. I was just going to say, you can use Exoskeleton to do the same sort of thing. You sustain by virtue of just, shielding off a lot of the damage. It does look like Almupa is kind of dominating this top lane, is up 10 in farm, and has been winning the last couple of trades. So that is not a good thing for Jax. Skarner, of course, camping out the bottom brush, is just going to head on back now. And the farm also down there favoring Corki just a little bit. They will be able to catch up. The minion wave is pushing towards them. So both junglers have that Philo Stone. Both of them have that Oracle running. And they're just kind of making their way around, making a lot of wards disappear. But unfortunately, Skarner hasn't made any champions disappear as of yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much aggression out of him at all. Spirit Rush has been used. More procs need to be followed up from Face Roller. That's number 2. It actually was number 3, in fact. So an ultimate blown from Ahri. It's not the longest of cooldowns, 83 seconds at first rank. Unfortunately, is going to be negated. Decoy is taken very low in this bottom lane. The burst damage from Mr. Rawls in conjunction with the sustain that Flumis is going to be able to give him, it's very difficult. And Fat Mama, he's got that laugh on a bind, and he's driving all 1,500 viewers crazy at the moment.
We do see Skarner trying to get in again, but is not able to, get close to Hawkton. Hawkton really good positioning, just kind of walking away at this point in time.
There goes the Shockwave Ignite. It was not actually used from Hawkton. He's going to be trying to set up another command attack into distance. Up in the top lane, Almupa is now going one toe-to-toe with Alvic. But Hawkton maybe just a tad over eager. Didn't have all of his cooldowns available. I seen the Shockwave but no Dissonance. And maybe a Dissonance plus Ignite could actually have been enough to pick up that kill if the cooldown was available.
Yeah, it was very, very close. Of course, the flash came out as well. Probably, flash to ensure that he wasn't going to get ignited. And we do see, more aggression down bottom.
And so the passive from Decoy, of course, giving the bonus damage. There comes the... I actually forgot all of Caitlyn's names. Wish actually being used from Soraka to save themselves. Absolute Zero gets cancelled, and a big one misses Fat Mama. That was huge, because if that had landed, that would have actually guaranteed the kill. But Decoy playing very, very well in that lane, opting to use the 90 caliber net to position himself a little bit more centered, and follows it up then with a very nice pult of a Peacemaker. Gonna carry on further for the back. There comes the bear stun, folks. Flash bear stun into Phoenix stance, and that's one dead Yeti. The man bear pig is just gonna walk away with an easy kill.
Yeah, we do see a 1 point picked up in Tiger stance, 4 in Phoenix, so it's a primarily Phoenix stance jungle, which is pretty standard. Obviously helps you clear out those AoE camps that much faster, but did pick up 1 point in Tiger stance just in case, wanted to get a little bit of extra damage down on a singular target. So Udyr, good pickup there, has his heart of gold now, has that extra Doran shield. I really like that pickup. But it's kind of interesting because he picked up a Doran shield instead of getting the Merc Treads, and Udyr is really all about early game movement speed. So he gave up that extra movement speed to get a little bit of extra tankiness. I mean, I never fault anyone for picking up Doran shields, but at the same time, perhaps it could have gone, a little bit better, perhaps his ganks would be a little bit more effective with those level 2 boots. I'm really impressed, top lane Almupa really doing a good job of, stabbing off Jax, trading really well with him.
and Jax is now starting to fall further and further behind. It was about 10 or 12 CS behind a couple minutes ago. That's now extended to around about 20 right now. There's a very big wave in front of Mupo. Counter-strike goes out from Alvic, and it's a pretty high cooldown. Call it the better part of 18 seconds. And as long as Mupo gets in there, his equilibrium.
Look at this camp. I love this.
Skarner is going to be able to land that Impale. Flumus is now the one that's in trouble. Decoy is moving forward. Infuse goes out, so that's going to delay a little bit of the damage. And the Piltover Peacemaker is going to pick up that final hit. So very, very nice Impale from Skarner. And I just thought about that. If there's a Yordle Snap Trap on the ground and Skarner drags somebody over on top of it, will it actually trap them on, or lock them into the trap?
Oh, that is a really good question. I would think not, because he seems to be able to move them even if they're stunned. Am I right in thinking that? I'm like, it's been a while. Skarner not played too much competitively. I used to love playing him myself, but I don't really know how that interacts. I certainly know if Skarner gets stunned, he can no longer drag someone back. But do they get stunned themselves? I don't believe so.
And actually, take a look at this bottom lane dive. Decoy opts to use that 90 caliber just to move back. Blood Boil ticking away. He does have the BF sword completed. In actual fact, Fat Mama forced to flash away from Broto. Broto is going to be carrying on moving. He does not have those movement speed boots, but doesn't need them. The big one from Mr. Rolls is all that's needed to pick up that kill. Now they're going to carry on chasing down, but Skarner no Impale. Ari a little bit too far away. And the combination of Impale into Charm, Impale into Counter-Strike, and potentially Impale into Snap Trap, there's a lot of solid and then situational based CC, which is quite worrying for the Gamehoppers.
It is quite worrying for them, but they are 4-2 up, 1,700 gold ahead so far, so things are going pretty well for them. And really the bottom lane has been attempting to be aggressive, but it just hasn't gone very well so far for Team Black. That time they got caught out just a little bit, and now Fat Mama 0-2. That's not really a spot you want to be in 14 minutes into the game. It kind of signals that there have been a couple of misplays, which, there have in fact been, mainly just over-aggression. We see Mupo being so aggressive top lane as well, diving in on the turret, and not worrying too much about it. And we'll have to back out. Skarner's presence is known now. But he's actually not even going to back. He's just going to sit in the brush and wait for Skarner to go away.
100 armor and 1800 hit points at level 11. He tanked 2 of those turret hits and they did practically nothing. And the fact that Skarner gave away his position up in that top lane, it pretty much singles the Gamehoppers to go in for the Dragon. So they do pick up Drake, taking a bit of damage in reply, but Gamehoppers are a little bit split. Facial has committed with that first proc of the Spirit Rush. There's 2 more available. He's going to have to use this. He's going to follow it up. The Charm actually lands onto Broto. Now Absolute Zero's gone out. Finally, the last proc of the Spirit Rush is out. First one to fall is going to be the Man Bear Pig. Facial should be able to pick up Mr. Rolls in the background, and Skarner picks up the 3rd kill onto Soraka. Yeah, fair enough. Gamehoppers got Dragon, but 3 kills and a whole bunch of assists, and now potentially a tower. That was a good turnaround for Team Black to close that gold lead to only 800 gold.
That was a really good showing, and I don't see, such stellar positioning, such great, team fight strategies, except from, the top teams in the world. And I mean, maybe Team Black is heading that way. Really, really good patience, poking them down at Dragon, and then getting them in a position where Skarner could come in, and then they would suddenly have a big advantage. Really just using their poke, to a great extent. And we see Face Roller being aggressive in mid lane, but is getting chunked down by Hawkdon. So they're just baiting him out.
Yeah, the Ignite is down. Face Roller somehow gets away with 30 hit points. Hawkdon forced to get away as well. I think Impale was actually used there from Napri, and both AP middles going incredibly, incredibly low. 1 more or 2 more auto attacks from Ari could have picked up that kill onto Hawkdon.
Yeah, that was pretty close. I mean, at first I thought Face Roller's like, oh, well, they know Skarner's coming, they're baiting this out, but I didn't think they were going to bait it out to get that close. We do see already picking up Deathfire Grasp, which is going to be a big deal. That should give him that extra little burst needed to take people out in one spell rotation, go into that Spirit Rush, hopefully land a Charm, use that Deathfire Grasp. Should be a really good idea. And, the bait didn't end up in a kill against Hawkdon, but what it did do is make Hawkdon waste Ignite and waste Flash, whereas, Face Roller didn't actually have either of those available to them at the time the fight went down. So a good ability to even up those summoners, which is, a big part of the game, making people waste their summoners, making, getting more on a level playing field.
Take a look at the
Jax
top lane.
Might be in trouble up top.
Is going to be able to flash away to safety. But look at the itemization now. We've got some difference in builds here. Corki is, of course, going for the Trinity Force. Phage and Sheen already completed. That is mirrored by the top lane Irelia, Phage and Sheen. She's actually putting some damage down, not even afraid of that tower. All of that armor and hit points is tanking it all day long. We do see the counterparts though. Jax opting to go for Phage is a Sheen behind right now. And Caitlyn, Infinity Edge completed. But take a look at our AP middles. Athene's Unholy Grail is already finished. Top lane is going to be a huge tower dive. Broto and Almopo going 2v1 underneath the tower, picking up the kill and picking up the tower for their troubles. And of course, Orianna has finished that Deathfire Grasp as well. So, two sort of, middle to top tier really good items completed very early on.
Yeah. You mean Ari picked up the Deathfire Grasp, correct?
Sorry. Ari got the DFG. Orianna got the Athene's Unholy Grail.
The Athene's, right. Yeah. Yes. Got a little bit confused there, but everything is going pretty standard. And actually, a nice move from Team Black to take down that middle. They just knew they were back a little bit.
Just
kind of really caught
out. He's just going to get deleted there. Very nice charm onto Lack. The Absolute Zero's going to go down. That's almost full channel. Shockwave is only going to land onto Nunu though. Broto's going to be the first to fall. Face Roll is going to use that Spur Rush to get to safety. So it ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. Jungler for jungler, and that means the Oracles is down for Skarner.
Right.
And Udyr had lost his Oracles a few minutes ago. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Because he has
he'd already lost his.
Yeah.
Yes.
But a pretty good fight.
Yeah, not a great position. Yeah, good fight. I mean, obviously, you don't ever want to lose that Oracle. Oh, flash comes down from El Mupo, which was followed up immediately by a flash from Decoy. Is that how you pronounce it? I love that spelling.
If I'm honest, I don't think so. It's I believe an Eastern European name, and I got a lot of trouble because it's Decoy Zoe or Decoy Zoe, or I don't know. I apologize to what the actual name is. I'm just saying Decoy because that's how I speak.
That's how I say. Well, we'll just say Caitlyn for this moment, moving on to the future. This looks like a lot of aggression. They want to take down this middle turret, and there's nothing that Black really can do to save it.
And we do see Almupo with a long-range Blade Surge. He was following Caitlyn compliments of a 90 caliber net. So 2 towers to 2 at the moment. That 1,000 gold lead is still in play. Alvik should be able to balance that out though. He's going to be attacking down this tower and probably chunking that down quite effectively. 1,000 gold in the bank. Currently sitting on 5k in total to the 5,700 on Irelia. So that's going to give them a small gold advantage for the time being. But 100 GP, that's nothing. That's a couple of potions difference between these two teams.
Right, 6-6. We do see Soraka picking up the Oracles now. So Udyr's like, oh, I already picked mine up. It's your turn. It's your turn to go ahead and do that. So, eventually you do see it swapped from the jungle position to the support position when support gets out of that bottom lane. I really like Team Black's, team fight composition for late game. Caitlyn is actually, a fair amount ahead in CS, 25 CS ahead of Corki at this point in time. And though, a lot of people are like, oh, Caitlyn falls off late game. Corki, has the same kind of issues when he builds into Trinity Force. He doesn't do the same amount of damage as an AD carry that is building, Infinity Edge into Phantom Dancer into Last Whisper. So we'll see how Corki tries to follow up that Trinity Force, whether it's a Bloodthirster, whether it is an Infinity Edge, but it doesn't do quite as much, sustained damage as a, the early, or as the, AD carry standard build does. And we do see, Black really trying to get into position here. It's all about catching people out at this point in time. That's how they really want to engage the next team fight, trying to impale a high priority target.
We'll see how this one plays out. Now it is in fact Gamehoppers that are sitting on the defensive. They leash Baron just to pull some aggro for a tiny bit. Gamehoppers are in a good position if they're going to commit for this one. Alvik is going to be so careful. The only hard CC is, of course, the silence and the stun from Udyr and Soraka. And we've got this little Mexican standoff, this little battle. Who is going to call chicken first? That's really what it boils down to. Jax is going to go... he's thinking about farming up that top lane. And all of that little aggression is actually going to fade away into nothing, unfortunately. Caitlyn, 22 minutes in, still hasn't finished her tier 2 boots, in fact.
Yeah, that's a little bit of an interesting choice, but she can get away with it because she's getting that extra movement speed from that Blood Boil buff. It looks like they're going to duo this dragon, not going to be a very hard takedown for them, going to go down in a matter of seconds. And Caitlyn must have a lot of gold saved up. Yeah, it does have 1,860 gold, so that could be a Zeal and level 2 boots. And, 1,200 gold on Skarner. 1100 gold on Jax. No, everyone on Team Black needs to buy, whereas, you know, Gamehoppers is actually just pushing down middle and attempting to take the second tier turret. Oh my goodness.
Shockwave is going to pull up 3 members of Team Black together. They're going to carry on with this dive, so it's a 1-for-1 Corki for Ari at the moment. Now they've turned their attention over to the Scorpion. He's going to try to keep his do his best to stay alive. Ace in the hole goes out. That's going to hit Flumus in the back. But that was a great shockwave from Hawkdon.
Yeah, it was a great impale coming down from Skarner, but then on the other side of the battle, everyone besides Skarner was caught in that shockwave, so couldn't immediately follow up. Took a long time to take out Corki because of that. Eventually does go 1-for-1, probably a trade that Team Black likes, but, you know, overall they got a little bit lower, and now we're, you know, losing this poke battle as well at the turret.
You need to be very careful. This is very low on hit points. The fact that they don't have the sustain on their team, the fact that they don't have a Soraka. Alvik is committed. Counter-Strike's going to go out. He's not going to lock up anybody, but his Ignite will in fact pick up the kill onto Hawkdon RV. Randy and Zoman has been procced, and look at that movement speed debuff. Just quickly talking about the movement speed, I've been clicking on Udyr a couple of times as they were running back and forth in the middle lane. Once he activates his bear stance and runs over that dissonance aura of Orianna, his movement speed goes up to 590 for a brief, you know, second and a half.
That's like a mini Ghost there. That is probably faster than a lot of people will be running around with Ghost. For instance, you know, 375 movement speed on Face Roller right now, so an extra, you know, 200, 220 movement speed coming down from Udyr. Certainly going to help him catch people, but he still has the issue where he can get kited, and, you know, it is a great kiting team coming down from Team Black. Skarner, of course, going to put that, you know, perma-slow on. Isn't really going to kite you himself. He wants to be in the battle. But Caitlyn is great at kiting. Ahri is probably, you know, one of the most dangerous AP champions, you know, to chase over, you know, any course of time, simply because she can keep spirit rushing away, can land that charm to slow people down, and do a lot of consistent damage. If you're chasing her in a straight line, then suddenly all of her Orbit Deceptions are going to hit, her Foxfires are going to land right in your face, and as I mentioned, hard person to chase, and it's going to get even harder, as it looks like she's going to build that Rylai's Crystal Scepter, has all of the components already built up. And we do see Caitlyn rushing towards Phantom Dancer, has still not built up those boots too. So I like the aggressiveness coming down from Caitlyn. Doesn't want to get those boots, needs their big ticket items, and does have those big ticket items. So coming into this next battle, I have to feel like she's going to be putting out so much more damage than will Corki.
Yeah, take a look at that as well. 394 base movement speed before finishing tier 2, before the Blood Boil. They've got to be very careful. Yeah, they're going to come up behind him. They've managed to snare Irelia. I don't think that's the smartest of targets. Shockwave is going to pull Scorpion back. There was no Jax and no Ari in that fight, so 3 versus 5, you're not going to blow Ari up. Rather, Irelia. Now we see Nunu going down in the background. Irelia still alive after being the initial target, tanking the tower all day long. Eats 3 tower shots to the face, then forced to flash out of that fight. And that was a pretty bad engagement for Team Black. I don't really know what the thinking was. I don't know if they maybe weren't 100% aware that both Jax and Orianna were actually not available. Decoy forced to use that flash and cleanse to get to safety. They're going to lose the interior tower. Now that Decoy's on only 500 hit points, he's not going to be able to defend if they decide to push the inhibitor. But instead, I think we're going to see a Baron buff right now.
Well, they have to head back because, I mean, they're a little bit low. Everyone is just about up. Alvik has 5 more seconds, so they actually all have to head back and make sure they're not counter barons at this point. That certainly could be a move for Team Black. It doesn't look like they're going to do it. They'd rather just head on to their blue buff, pick up that for Face Roller. Face Roller does have that Rylai's Crystal Scepter. I have a feeling what happens, they just didn't know they were going to get caught out there, and then Skarner ulted Aurelia simply because he didn't want Aurelia to jump on anyone else, but certainly was not a well thought out plan, you know, going that way towards their turret. Did get caught out there, and it did turn out, you know, terribly wrong for them.
Yeah, so the gold, but take a look at this though, you know, 18 kills in it. We've had non-stop pressure in all of the lanes. It's been very aggressive play from both sides. They've been playing a lot of champion versus champion as opposed to objectives, if that makes sense. We haven't seen too many big engagements around the dragons. We've seen a couple of tower dives very recently, but for the most part, it's just been player against player, and there's only 1,000 gold difference right now. The command attack goes out, gives some vision. Nash is probably going to be the next port of call, the next battling points, and neither team not necessarily the fastest of Dragon. But you've got to imagine that with Skarner, Jax, Caitlyn, and Nunu, if they get in on it, they should be able to take it out quicker.
Yeah, I would definitely give the advantage, the Baroning advantage to Team Black at this point, just from that consistent damage from Caitlyn. As I mentioned before, Corki doesn't do quite as much damage overall. Certainly doesn't have his build as, worked up as does Caitlyn. Doesn't have that extra blood boil on him either. So, I mean, the one advantage, of course, is they do have Soraka on their side, which means they'll be healthier after they do Baron, most likely, but they're not going to be as good at doing it, certainly a rush Baron, for instance, where at this point, it would be, a matter of, seconds, 10 seconds for Team Black. It might take, a good 20 seconds for Team Hoppers on the other side. So we are actually going to see a lot of aggression coming down from Team Black, just pushing down that turret. Nothing done about it.
And they are going to commit into this fight. There comes a shockwave. Not a huge amount of damage this time around, though. Managed to catch all the tanky champions instead of the weaker ones. Spirit Rush has to be used defensively from Face Roller on the back foot. A double kill coming out for Hawks on RV. Now they've turned their attention. Impale finally used, but once again, pulling Irelia away from the team fight. Caitlyn is dealing a lot of damage. The charm goes down, but not before a big one is let off from Mr. Rawls. And that big one, in conjunction with a couple more auto attacks, is going to be enough to pick up the triple kill. Double for Hawkdon, triple for Mr. Rawls. Those rockets are so strong, and this should be the inhibitor. Maybe one Nexus turret, depending on how quickly they can take these objectives down.
Yeah, there's a little bit of hesitancy for them to tank the turret there, so it looks like just the inhibitor. Nunu is back up, 8 seconds on Jax. I doubt they'll be able to get one of the actual base turrets down at this rate. Had they been a little bit more aggressive, perhaps, but they're going to head back. They're not very healthy here, so they're going to have to make sure they don't give up Baron in exchange for that inhibitor. They're all going to have to head back very quick. We do see a little bit of hesitancy from Corki to head back. Now, he has to make sure not to show himself anywhere on the map. Okay, he is heading back as well, as is Hawkdon. But they see Hawkdon going back. They could potentially rush the Baron here. No, we're not going to see that happen. I always like the potential of a rushed Baron. Is not going to happen. They knew Hawkdon would be a little bit, removed from the Baron at that point, but they also don't have an Oracle on them right now to clear out that pit, so they do have that disadvantage, and we're going to see both teams meet up again. That team fight just didn't go well for Team Black, in large part I feel because the Impale wasn't used on anyone until the team fight was entirely over. Certainly, you want to pick up a high priority target to use the Impale on, but at the same point, it does damage, it locks someone up. Even if you locked up Soraka, that could be pretty darn effective.
Yeah, get Soraka before she's able to throw out the Wish, before she's able to use an Astral Blessing, for example. But something else that definitely needs to be pointed out, immediately after the Shockwave went out, Udyr moved past the first one or two champions and threw down that Randian's Omen. And you consider Jax, Skarner, and Caitlyn are all auto attackers. That Randian's is so powerful. Equilibrium Strike gets used on Naprian, and then both champions just walk away effectively. No one really willing to pick that fight, but a huge wave of creeps up in this top line means that Team Black need to defend and potentially lose Baron buff.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them. They do have sight now, so they are going to catch him on here. Now, very tricky situation. They want to stay on Baron, but they can't, and now they're going to be taking damage from it as well.
We are going to see a very aggressive Albic. He's going to dive forward. There goes the Randians over the next couple of seconds. They're a little bit weaker. Impale has been used. That time around onto Orianna, but nobody else from Team Black was able to get forward. Caitlyn is using that raise to her advantage, and the shockwave damage is so high. Double kill for Corki. Is this going to be a double for Orianna? That is the question. In fact, Irelia is going to take the fourth kill of that fight, and a Valkyrie into, I think that was even an auto attack. I'm not sure if that was the missile barrage. Once again, another huge team fight for the Gamehoppers. This should be game. They have enough damage. They have a super minion or two up at the Nexus towers, and their champions are just going to melt these Nexus turrets down.
Yeah, we are seeing the good games, well played, go out. It's just a couple unfortunate team fights there. And, maybe it comes down to the fact that, Skarner, not a stellar late-game champion just because he's not really able to do, a significant amount of damage, but you don't really need a lot of damage coming down from your tanks. But additionally, those Impales, even when he got them off on a high priority target, his team wasn't able to focus them, so they weren't able to catch anyone out, weren't able to really, lower the damage output coming down. But it all probably has to come down to as well, Aurelia was incredibly farmed up, had a great game, a great laning phase all throughout. In that Trinity Force into that Guardian Angel, was able to do a lot of damage and tank an incredible amount as well. So really was significantly more built up than the opposing Jacks.
Yeah, so that means that Team Black are knocked out of today's Raidcall Cup, and it does also mean that the Gamehoppers are going to advance, so they're going to make it through to the semi-final. I believe they're going to be facing off against Fnatic tomorrow evening. Before we get there, though, we have 2 more games coming up, and let's actually double-check exactly what that schedule looks like. Let me pull this one up on screen. So the next game that we're going to be covering, it will be Team Alternate facing off against Team Megashock. And that's going to be an exciting one. I'm a fan of Megashock. They like to play very aggressively. They like to play quite unique champions and styles. So guys, while we wait for this game lobby to get ready and while we wait for everybody to jump into this game, I do have to throw up a very, very short advert break. When we are back, myself and Sotere will bring you all the action of game number 3.
Is it worth it? Can you even hear me? Standing with your spotlight on me. Not enough to feed the hungry. I'm tired and I felt it for a while now. This sea of lonely. The taste of ink is getting old. It's 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. Each day gets more and more like the last day. Still I can see it coming. While I'm standing in the river.
Alright guys, as you can see, the game lobby is starting to fill up. Team Alternate will be taking on Team Megashock. It looks as though Megashock may have a substitute for tonight, but we'll check that one out in just a moment's time. Thank you for joining us. This is, of course, the Fnatic Play Raidcall Cup. You guys can see all of the coverage and see all of the events and the schedule. If you head over to Fnatic.com, check out the latest news posts, you can see it out. We've already seen Fnatic taking out the Dragons, and we've just seen Gamehoppers defeating Team Black. After Alternate and Megashock, we will be watching an all-French affair of Millennium taking on Eclipsia. While we wait for that one to get up, and as you can see, the lobby is starting to fill up, why don't we actually show you guys a little bit of Raidcall. It is, in fact, the program that we are using for tonight's cast. Myself and Sotere are on the channel. We're in Fnatic's room, which is Leet 14. That's 133714. You can find the application raidcall.com. It is quite a bit of fun. It's pretty cool. The application is really easy to set up and really easy to use. After you configure your account, you can create channels, you can create rooms, all sorts of things like that. I'm in fact the admin over here at the Fnatic group for today's cup and today's cast, and I can see that we've already actually got a couple of messages. It's got a really, really cool interface, really, really nice layout, easy to follow and things like that. You can actually see a couple of people have sent us some messages. So if you guys would actually like to ask myself or Sotere a few questions, head over to raidcall.com, download the application, and jump into room Leet 14. That's 133714. It's really easy to find. All you got to do is, from the main screen, 133714, press enter, and it throws you over to the group. So you guys can check that one out. You see there's a couple. One, thank you for the compliment, Shinichi. And am I going to be at ECC Poland? Sadly, I am not going to be at ECC Poland. Let's see, how is our lobby doing? We still have 8 or so players, so while we're waiting for those guys to get up, let me actually show you where you can find myself and Sotere. Sotere, why don't you tell everybody about yourself, where you come from, and how they can follow you?
I would be happy to do so. I am a player over on the North American servers. I also write for GG Chronicle, cast for the GG Chronicle, news corporation, as it were. We ran a tournament last weekend. We'll be doing a lot more tournaments, but for different organizations, I do believe, coming into the future. Of course, I'm co-casting with Quickshot. Always love to do that, so thank you for inviting me along. And you can find GG Chronicle, facebook.com/GG Chronicle. Find me at Twitter, LOL Sotere. That is LOLSOTERE. Certainly feel free to drop a line over there, and ggchronicle.com overall, just for your esports news and for well thought out articles written by our crew and cast, and sometimes by me.
Yeah, so there we go, guys. Sotere, of course. And while you're on Facebook or Twitter, you can hit me up, /Quickshot. That's QU1KSH0T. Not on my contact list. Thank you, Mehmet, saying that there's some awesome casting this evening. So, guys, yeah, we're just waiting for this lobby to fill up. We're waiting for a couple more members of Team Alternate. We can't start earlier. All right, so Pharrell Lord has a little bit of a problem in terms of players. So I'm going to bump this one over to the admins really quickly for the night. Mr. Harry, if you're around, or Fnatic XHD, of course. Let's see what he has to say about this. So while we're waiting for some time to kill, if anybody is willing to head over to raidcall.com, come jump over to the group. Sotere, I think let's head into the caster chat room. If you guys come jump in the room and throw some questions, we'd be happy to take some Q&As. We only have Shinichi here right now, so let's see if we can pull somebody else in here. I'm going to jump over. I'm going to... how do I move him here? And use the contacts. Oh, there we go. So, Sotere has already moved. That's why I don't have the option to do so. Can you still hear me, Sotere? It appears I cannot. He can hear, but he can't talk right now. So, I'm going to actually promote him to moderator. Sotere, you should be able to talk now. Try it out. Still not. It appears I am a bit of a raid call noob, in fact. So I'll tell you what, jump back up to the caster channel. He has to be admin. So let's see, member management. Let's see, delete, edit membership name. View profile, more info, my memberships. He's a moderator at the moment. But yeah, we got a couple more guys jumping into the channel right now. So I'll tell you what I'm actually going to do. I am going to... Oh, yay! We see Daniel coming into the channel right now as well. So he should be able to give some admin rights over to Mr. Sotere. HXD, how you doing, dude? No microphone. No, camera shy. So yeah, guys, we're just killing a little bit of time. We are just waiting for a couple members of Alternate to jump in here. So greetings to Shinichi, greetings to Marco Bozzo, and if anybody else is willing to join us, it is room Leet 14. That's 133714. Come jump in here, throw some questions up, get involved in chat, and share some love for us. John Frank for speech, please. Yeah, guys, so let's have some fun. In terms of a couple of questions that I've actually seen on chat and whatnot, I am in fact casting from home. This is my first official cast from my lounge, which is effectively it, and that's why I was asking a little bit of my microphone volume, asking a little bit about what's happening in terms of my camera, my volume, Sotere's volume, things like that. I have asked if we can get Sotere with some Sotere now, please. If we can get him some voice. Did I enjoy The Lost World? Yes, I did in fact enjoy The Lost World. It is an MMO that I was playing a little while ago and did a Launch Till Dawn event, and it was really, really cool. And let's have a look. What other questions do we have? Now, everybody can speak in the channel. Awesome. So thank you, guys. If anybody's listening in, can we get Sotere some voice rights? That would be the next one that we'd like to jump on there. A couple guys have been asking, why do I sound so different? Why do I sound so strange? The reason that I sound a bit different is, of course, my setup. My hardware is all different. So, of course, my microphone, my sound card, things like that are all running a bit differently as well. Let's see, we've got a couple more people, so starting to fill up. 8 people right now.
Testing. Oh,
yay!
there we go.
There we go. We finally have some voices. So, welcome, Sotere. You guys are welcome to actually stay in this channel if you'd like to. Myself and Sotere can maybe cast through here for the rest of the evening. While we're just waiting for the rest of everybody to get into the game. How is our lobby looking, Sotere? Still 8
It is at 8 out of 10. Yes. Still at about the same point there. A little confused because we did just see El Mupo play, but now he's not going to be on Mega Shock. I don't know. Has he actually been removed from the team, or what? Do you know his status? Because as far as I knew, he was still on the Team Mega Shock. But obviously he played last game for Gamehoppers.
And let's see, not the best idea to have everyone here. Okay, well, we'll jump over to the caster channel once the game starts. I have just asked Zupix from Mega Shock whether or not Almupo is still 100% part of the team or not. And let's have a look. Who would I recommend or like to see as a duo mid? If you were going to see duo mid, who would you put there, Sotere?
Oh, man. Well, I like Caitlyn because of her zoning potential. She really has the highest potential to zone out an AP middle, and she could potentially go middle on her own. Obviously, Urgot could be a good choice as well. I like Caitlyn, and Soraka is always nice. It means you're not going to get damaged down. In the last game, we saw a little bit of Caitlyn and Nunu, or actually in the previous game, not in the last game. And I forget actually who it was. It was Nunu and Graves, actually. I'm pretty certain on that. And they did a decent job, but Graves actually has to get in range of spells to do the harassment, whereas Caitlyn can poke from outside of that range, could set down those traps, and do a really great job. So she's one of the, champions I would like. I think Ezreal could also do a really good job as well.
All right, I did just hear. I think that was a Harry in the background. Welcome to chat. I like the selection. I like both the combination and the two of them. In terms of other carries that could do pretty well, I think somebody like maybe even a Jace could do quite effectively in that position. The fact that he's got such good range, such good pushing power, and the mobility complements of that acceleration gate as well. So that could also play out into their favor.
Yeah, certainly. It's harder to duo mid because you're going to have put more wards. You're going to have to ward, each side of the brush, make sure the jungler doesn't come in after you. But you do have that advantage, especially if you're against a very gank-heavy, jungler who does tend to go after a middle matchup, like a Maokai, for instance. If they pick a Maokai,